without overwhelming one another too much. Because the moment you're overwhelming the other color, you're starting to lose the white balance. You're starting to lose that color separation. That's why white balance should really be called color separation. They should like literally cancel that term, delete that term completely from photography and filmmaking. Do not call it white balance anymore. Just call it color balance or color separation, right? And now when you call it color separation, people are like, whoa, I get the point now. Oh, I want the color separation. Oh yes, I do want that. I do not want colors to be just amalgamated together and just look like a giant broth, like a giant tomato soup, right? You can make it look like a tomato soup if you want it. Let's make it look like a tomato soup. There you go. That's a creative choice. That's a stylistic choice. That's like the red matrix, everybody. The red matrix. Welcome to the red matrix. The new matrix. Okay, that's enough. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you can make it look like that if you want to. Say, hey, I was creative. I graded it creatively. I redded the whole thing. Redded it. If there is such a word. Or you could go with color separation and then just skew it a little bit, you know, and do your little color grading, right? First of all, I would not call it white balance. I think the word white balance just confuses the out of people. Okay, especially if you're just starting in photography or filmmaking, the word white balance will not make you understand what exactly is the point of the white balance. I think it should be called color balance, or even better, color separation, because that's all it is about. It is about color separation, because if the whites are true white and the blacks are true blacks, then every color and shade in between the white and black will be its own pure color. And I'm not going to explain to you how the white balance. There are billions of videos out there that explain how to do white balance. Either you do it in camera before you shoot, right? Or you do it like this, the way I do it, because I always shoot at 5600K. So it's easier for me to just put a white card in front of the camera where the subject is, and then I do it in post, right? But the point of this video is to talk about white balance in a way that has never been explained before, okay? Because it is very confusing the way they explain it. Obviously, I made this horribly red on purpose because I wanted to show you that the moment that I would click with the dropper on the white, in this case, let's add a node, and the moment I go like this on the white, boom, it brings everything back, and you can look at the parade, you can see the red and green and blue, they're all on the same level, more or less, okay? So how beautiful it is to have this white card. Or you can use the trick of the white text, which works amazingly. If this would have been shot in the sun, like a sunset light, where the sun is low in the sky, you would have had long shadows, which is probably the best, most beautiful light that you can film. And you would have seen the shadows here, so naturally you would have wanted to have a little more red than green than blue. So in this instance, this white balance works for me because I shot at dusk. So when I do the white balance, naturally the blue will be a little higher than the green and then the red. If the subject is in the sun, you will naturally have a little more red in the gamma and a little red more in the highlights, and just a little bit less green and less blue. You know, so it might look like something like this if you get a little bit of sun, right? So you have to keep it real. or otherwise it might not look natural. Okay, if you got a subject in the sun with the sun beating on his or her face and you're gonna make it perfectly white balanced, it's not gonna look natural. It's gonna look like daylight white, kind of neutral, when you have the sun literally hitting the subject's face. It's not going to look natural. It's not gonna look realistic. So you can white balance the image to make it as close as possible with levels to achieve that color separation, but then you must grade it to respect the reality of that scene, or it will look not natural. In my opinion, manual white balance is probably always the best. I go with the primaries. I use the primary wheels. I use left gamma gain, then I use shadow midtones highlights. I also use the offset and a little bit the HDR with temperature and tint. And I never use the temperature and tint of the regular standard color wheels. I always use the temperature and tint of the HDR because I think it's much less harsh than the regular temperature. So this is with the primary, right? This is with the HDR. Do you see the difference? It's ginormous, okay? This temperature here, it should be completely deleted from DaVinci, in my opinion. But again, I mean, there might be instances in which you will need this type of grading or change, right? But I use the temperature in the HDR wheel. But you can see that once I manually graded, look at the difference. This is with my manual grade. This after with my manual grade, before, after, before, after, right? And I tried to level the green, red, and blue as much as I could. Gamma highlights, shadows, all at the same levels to achieve a pure black and pure white. Okay. If the image is showing a bad white balance, which most likely it will, because if you're shooting a 5600K and you are in a warm scene, let's say a sunset, it will only be warmer because the temperature in your camera is higher. I believe I'm correct. If you were shooting, let's say the temperature is 4000K and in your camera you're shooting 5600K, then when you're gonna look at the images in post, you're gonna probably have a temperature of 3500K, 3000K. It's gonna be warmer because you raised the temperature in your camera, or vice versa. If you're shooting in an overcast day at 6000K, that's the reality of the temperature outside, and you have 5600K, which is lower, it's gonna make the scene look bluer, right? And so in either way, doing the white card trick or the white text or both, it will tremendously help with bringing that color separation, that color balance back to its original. And it's never about having red, green, and blue perfectly equal and level. It is about that, but not to perfection, you know, because it's always gonna be some skewing. Okay, it depends on the light on the scene and the colors that you have on the scene, and the light on the scene will reflect on the colors of that scene and will create the ambience light, right? So you have to respect that. But again, then there is the creative choice, the grading, the style you want, and you can always change it any way you want it. I mean, look at the Matrix movie. it was mainly green, right? It was a green overcast throughout the whole movie. Forget about skin color there. Forget about being on the skin color, right? And I want you to show me the indicator, right? Exactly. You can see where the vector scope is falling. It's falling on the orange and blue. So this is kind of like a teal and orange type of grading, but still keeping it real without going too overboard. If you go too overboard with the teal and orange, then everything that it's gonna be on the spectrum of the blue will become too blue, and everything on the spectrum of the brown and magenta and red will become too red, and then it's not gonna look realistic. So you want a little bit of the teal and orange, because it's the perfect contrast of colors, but keeping it real. And you look at the parade, look at the levels here, right? These are great levels. Now, I can grade it going forward here, and I could say, hey, you know what? I'm going to make it, just to do a quick grading, I'm going to make it a little bit on the, I'm gonna make it a little bit on the warmer side, because maybe that's your stylistic choice. Okay, you can see the red goes over the green, over the blue, higher, right? Red over green, green over blue, right? And if that's your stylistic choice, go for it. But again, if you want to keep it natural, it depends on the scene. Is this a dream scene? Is this a documentary? It depends. There are so many reasons, right? I prefer personally to just grade it as realistically as possible, because indeed when you shoot a scene that's already full of beautiful colors, there is really no need to grade it. If you achieve that color balance, you will automatically have beautiful colors, and it's gonna be beautiful to look at it. I mean, here you have the yellow beak, you got the white bluish of the wings, the gray, you got brown, you got all kinds of brown and beige and white of the stones, you got blue and yellow in the background, you got teal, you got blue, deep blue and deep red of the American flag. You got beautiful colors. You even got a little pink orange here, and it's just beautiful, right? There is no need, in my opinion, to grade it. But again, creativity has no limits. You can ultimately grade it any way you want it. Here I could decide to go a little warmer, or maybe go a little bit on the bluer side, like that, right? If I do grade it, I would always grade it just a tiny little bit, just a little bit skewed, a little bit, right? Look at the difference this makes from here to here, right? And what it does is that with this a little bit of skewing, I graded it creatively. I am giving it more of a sense of the dusk. At the same time, I'm still keeping good color separation. Probably go a little less. It's a little too much. Maybe like that. Just like that, right? Just a little bit the blue over the green over the red. That's it. Done. And you can see that the offset, each channel is separated from the other, right? So you can move it as much as you want. Now the first thing I would do is I would bring all of them at a black level, right? Like that. And the problem with the offset, which is why I'm not crazy about the offset, is that the moment that you start moving the offset, the moment that you say, hey, I'm gonna grade it a little more warmer, it does not only make it warmer on the highlights and the midtones, it literally makes it warmer even in the shadows. It literally moves the whole thing. That's why I'm not crazy about the offset, because now I have to go into the primary and fix the damn lift. Actually, I would have to go into the log wheel and fix the red shadows like this, right? You see? And I'm not crazy about the offset either. I mean, unless I'm missing something here. I think the offset is really made to correct exposure. Let's say you expose the picture completely the wrong way, right? Then you can go on the offset and say, oh, I'm gonna correct this. I'm gonna correct. Boom. Right? And that's how you do it. You know, the way I do it is with the HDR temperature wheel. So the HDR temperature wheel leaves the blacks where they are. It might lift the shadow, the gamma, and the gain a little bit. It kind of lifts the whole thing. And I think that's a good way to grade it. But anyway, so the point of this video was to probably re-explain white balance my way. Re-explain it in a way that I wish someone would have explained it to me. Right? Not just color correcting the image, but understanding that white balance is a little more than color correction. White balance is about color balance, color separation, which is where everything looks its own color. Okay, now we all have watched like movies like Dark Knight or even the Tenet, you know, like Nolan movies lately, you know, which are beautifully shot, in my opinion, beautifully graded. But even a movie like Dark Knight, for example, there are scenes in which, you know, there isn't very much creative grading there. It just things look with their own color. It just looks beautiful, colorful, but without that creative cast of color. So in a few words, things don't have to look like the Matrix to look beautiful. Okay, you don't have to do this creative color grading to make things look beautiful and colorful. I think if you have a scene that it's already incorporating beautiful colors, blue, red, green, gray, yellow, beige, brown, right? Teal, orange. When the scene already has that many colors, right? You would rather want each color to shine on its own and being in contrast to the other colors, and therefore being all separated and all shining in their own true colors. And the only way to do that is through white balance. You know, and I just think that in all other videos they make it look like it's just a basic step, you know, to color correct the image, but it really is not. I think white balance, again, I call it color balance, it is probably the most important step that you could take when grading your photos or your videos. If you don't do that, you're not gonna get that color separation. If you don't get color separation, not each colors won't look like its own. Things will look like they will have a cast from another color, and it's just gonna look like amatorial. Okay, this is why we love those movies. Like, I'm just thinking of Dark Knight, but another movie that can come to my mind is Lawrence of Arabia. If you haven't watched it, you should watch it. Okay, if you haven't watched Lawrence of Arabia, you haven't watched anything. Okay, that's color. That's beautiful cinematography. Okay, Lawrence of Arabia, go and watch it. But it's an amazing movie from every aspect, from every angle. And I can't stop watching it over and over and over again. Lawrence of Arabia. What a tremendous movie. What an amazing movie that is. For Lawrence of Arabia, I think they either shot in the late afternoon or early morning. That's probably when they filmed, right? To get the softest, most diffuse light and I could see the long shadows, so I know that that's when they filmed it. And think about it, right? While filming either early morning or late afternoon, would you want the whole scene to be casted by this yellow orange strong light of the sun? No, because that would have ruined it. That would have made the desert look beautiful, but it would have probably destroyed the skin color. It would have destroyed the white and the blacks and all the other colors in between, that they were wearing, with their costumes, right? The costumes colors would have destroyed everything else. It would have also destroyed the blue of the sky, because it wouldn't have looked that blue. Instead, they used a filter. I think they might have used a yellow filter, if I'm not mistaken. And I think they had to use a yellow filter so that they could bring the temperature down a little bit more towards a neutral, like kind of like daylight temperature, color balance. Why? Because the closer you get to the white balance, the closer you get to separating the colors. The closer you get to having the colors stand out amazingly. And each color will have the perfect relation, contrast against another. I mean, you can grade it any way you want it at this point. If that's how you wanted to go matrix style, you go matrix style. It's up to you. Okay? That's not the point of this damn video. The point of the damn video is to show you what white balance, in my opinion, really means. Okay, and maybe you're thinking, oh, bravo, you discovered white balance, you didn't discover anything. Well, I did not. I think I rediscovered the meaning of white balance in my own opinion. Or maybe I just rediscovered a way to explain it, because so far, and I might have watched a billion videos over the years about white balance, and I could never understand exactly what the point of white balance is. I mean, I get it. The literal point is, yes, you bring the levels, it's about color correction, correcting the image, but that doesn't tell me much. Maybe you're even more confused than you were before. When you think in terms of white balance, I think you should think in terms of color balance and color separation, right? Super important step. Once you got the colors separated, each color will stand out. No colors will have a cast over another, and colors will look very, very authentic. It's not actually about being authentic. It's just that they'll get to shine for what they are. The red will shine for what it is, and the blue will be blue, and the gray will be gray, and every color in between, white and black. And that's what white balance is all about.